Greetings, YouTube. We know by now that there are so many different discussions going on regarding boycotts, who's decided to not spend, who's decided to just not even play. It's kind of exhausting, to be honest, trying to understand from my perspective, trying to inform the community who's boycotting what the similarities are, differences, how Kabam is responding to it. So, in the midst of that, we do know something for sure, and that's that if you are of a certain progression level amongst this boycott discussion, especially in terms of boycotting spending on this random week of the end of May and almost the start of June, we have a offer. I'm not sure if there's a different offer for people who aren't of this progression, but for those of you who are cavalier, there's no being cavalier about it. You are being targeted with what's being called the unit pack. Now, you can see it's not here, which means it's probably in that super special place, the store. There you go. 3,000 units. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, technically 3,100 units is $100, but it just sounds easier to say $100 worth of units, even though it's technically discounting 1,000 units, or 100 units, excuse me. I wish it was 4,000 units per ode. You kidding me? And here you go. They're saying for the low price of 9,000 units, because it's limit 3, you can form a tier 5 basic. For the low price of, we'll call it, just to make it simple, $300 worth of units, you can form a tier 5 basic, since it's 45,000 tier 5 basic callus fragments per. Now, I've got to be really careful, because usually when I talk about these, I don't have a bunch of units, but I have not really spent my units except on the featured Cavalier Crystal deals. Keep in mind, when I buy them tomorrow, I will not be spending cash. I'll be using the units that I've saved up and the units that I did end up adding to my stash weeks ago before my Abyss completion run. But in the meantime, it's crazy that they think this is a fine offer. First off, it should be a minimum of 2 tier 2 alpha per. And that's not even like a good deal, because that's still saying that it's basically $50 worth of units per tier 2 alpha. And we have seen normal deals, not July 4th, Cyber Weekend, spring cleaning, whatever you want to call it, normal deals for a tier 2 alpha catalyst for uncollected members, nevertheless Cavalier, be in 2020 between $22 and $35 a piece. 35 is the high end, 22 is the low end. Either way, that's what we've seen in offers. This is $100 worth of units for one. It's just absolute insanity, even before you consider the boycott environment and, of course, the coronavirus. But besides that, 15,000 tier 5 basic callus fragments? I wonder where else I could get those. Let me just scroll to the right and see. We can buy Boost, Black ISO Market, Profile Picks, Incursions. Oh yeah, there's this thing called Glory, and it is so gloryful, because if you're uncollected, nevertheless Cavalier, you can buy up to 5 of these, or 22,500 tier 5 basic callus fragments, if you have 5,000 Glory, of course. But let's say you've got 3,900. 3,900 Glory. That is 4 Glory purchases. Well, let's just remind ourselves, shall we? 4,500 tier 5 basic catalyst fragments times 4 is 18,000. If you just have 3,900 Glory, which I think most alliances that do map 5 and above end up having at least that when the week is done, assuming you 100% complete all 3 battle groups and you run 3 battle groups, which some alliances don't. I get that. But if you have, say, 4,000 Glory, you'll get 3,900 Glory each time. That's 18,000 tier 5 basic callus fragments with that Glory guaranteed for free. 18,000. That is 3,000 more tier 5 basic callus fragments than they're offering right now in the featured item store. So the question becomes, Prof, what would be a good deal for this? I think maximum, I would cut it in half, if you say it's 1,500 units, which is still putting a Tier 2 Alpha Catalyst price at a premium, but really it's called the Tier 5 Basic Fragment Pack for a reason, not Tier 2 Alpha, so the Tier 2 is just kind of thrown in. I think that'd be a fair price because that's also still putting the price of taking a 5-star to rank 2 if you were to do the math, and I get that it's a limit of 3, so you couldn't. But let's say that you could purchase 6 of these, which would be enough to take your 5-star to rank 5, assuming you had no Tier 5 Basic Catalyst fragments before that you could add into that. Well, if it's $50 a piece, it would still cost you $300, and that's just for Tier 5 Basics, not counting all the other resources you would need, of course. But in this case, because it's $100 worth of units to take up that champion, do you realize that $100 worth of units means it's $300 to form one of these, which means it's $600 of the price tag to take a 5-star to rank 5 on this quote-unquote special offer? That is as borderline criminal as it gets. It's just, again, so out of touch. May remains, for all intents and purposes, Kabam marketing team, the worst month I have ever seen in every month I've reviewed offers for 3 years on YouTube. And I keep track of every offer every month. I have the information in front of me. I have screenshots, and I even revisit my older videos to remind myself from time to time, okay, what has changed about the price point of this item? It is my job as the economy of the game continues to evolve, hopefully, and not devolve, even though in May it's devolved more than evolved. I want to save you money. That's why my channel exists, to make the purchase power and the most informed decisions. And I want you to be able to spend money if Kabam's doing the right things and making the deal pro player and pro Kabam. They're a company that needs to make money, but they also don't need to rip off their customers. So if this was 1,500 units, I'd probably give it at least a C+, B- grade. But right now, it's another straight F- infinity, dumpster fire, U for unsatisfactory, F for are you freaking kidding me? But, I'm tired of saying this, YouTube. I'm desperate for at least a C grade. I'm desperate for a 1,500 unit offer. The other thing that doesn't make sense about this is that if you're only giving this to Cavalier people, you want to have such a good deal that you're incentivizing those uncollected players to push to become Cavalier because they don't want to miss out on great offers since these are gated by progression. If I'm uncollected and I'm staring at this, I'm thinking, I can already get the Glory Store updates because all you need to do is be uncollected to get those. Why would I worry about that? I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the other deal, by the way, which is the Tier 5 Class Catalyst Fragment Pack for 4,500 units. Now, I guess you could say the good news is that you get one of these Tier 5 Class Catalyst Fragment crystals, but without the actual option to select the class, you're probably just going to spend $150 worth of units to be screwed over. This, if it's going to be this price, should be a selector because I'm very close to forming a Cosmic Tier 5 Class Catalyst thanks to Act 6 completion rewards. And so I would be tempted to throw 4,500 units, believe it or not, their way if this was a selector. But because it's not, I'm not going to rely on 1 out of 6 RNG. But also for 4,500 units, I'm just going to say it. This should be a fully formed Tier 5 Basic. Absolutely should be a 40. I mean, it's $150. And so it's still 9,000 units to form a Tier 5 Basic. The math on this deal doesn't change at all for the Tier 5 Basic. It's exactly the same. The only difference is you replace a Tier 2 Alpha, which has a lot more guaranteed value, believe it or not, than a Tier 5 Class Catalyst Fragment Crystal. You have so many people who are complaining because they can't take up their 6 stars. They are absolutely desperate for SIG stones and actual guaranteed items that take their account to the next level for Tier 5 Class Catalyst Fragments. And you are once again putting their money in the hands, boycott or not, of the RNGesus or RNJudas crystal. The days of these crystals need to be gone. The days where you just give us selectors, that's how you're going to give us better guaranteed value. That's how the people at the top can say, okay, I can wrap my mind around this. I just don't understand why a company that, as I discussed yesterday on a video, continues to say that crystals aren't rigged and everything is equal. Well, if it's not rigged, then why not just give us selectors in the first place? Put the power in our hands as consumers instead of in your hands and your algorithm's hands to determine what class you land on. in the era of a boycott, you're telling me this is the best that they can do for these players at the top who are used to spending what could be six figures as an alliance, definitely per year, certainly during the gifting event, and you're telling them that the best they can do is this? It's just as tone deaf as it gets, and it's only going to make the atmosphere of the boycott worse, not better.